Damon Green has the story of the night.
It was a long night, and one that nobody who saw it is likely to forget.
Here we go. All right.
Where the forces of law at times lost ownership of the streets of London. All day the rumours had predicted that Hackney in East London would be the front line, and so it turned out. Police were stationed in force along the borough's main street. But their attempts to disperse the gangs of youths from the corners turned into a running battle. Rioters threw rocks at the line, and police charged back. And still the looting went on. It wasn't just East London where the rioters were out. In Croydon, to the south of the city, was the scene of some of the night's worst fires. Some have suggested they were set as a distraction to emergency services so that looting could take place undisturbed, but in their own right, they were devastating. One woman who'd been left behind in the evacuation of her burning flat was forced to jump, an image which for many captured the horror of the night. Not far away in the suburb of Lee in southeast London, CCTV recorded the looting of a pawn shop. Undeterred by a security screen or a camera, no police in sight. They took everything. The spread of the looting to some of London's more affluent suburbs meant that Clapham Junction was next.
Why are you stealing everything?
Some of the looting there almost casual. Plenty of what was stolen almost valueless, but the damage caused by arson will cost hundreds of thousands to repair. Just before midnight, looters struck in the West London suburb of Ealing. And then, by morning in Enfield to the north, fire had taken hold in a huge warehouse. A fire so large it burned on well into the morning and left a cloud of smoke hanging over the city of London like a shadow. Damon Green, ITV News.
And our UK editor Keir Simmons is with us now in the studio. Keir, it was interesting, that interview with Boris Johnson, who admitted control was lost last night, apologised. The police have to change their tactics tonight if confronted again, don't they?
That's right, and they are. I'm told, for example, that what they're doing is targeting ringleaders and that they're trying to get in and disperse groups before they properly get together. The trouble is, of course, people are going to say, well, hold on a second, why weren't you doing this a few nights ago? And one government source who I put this to today said, yeah, it's a good question, and we're going to have to ask those questions later. So I think it's fascinating to hear Boris Johnson in that interview say it was terrible, apologise. I mean, clearly, I think they know that there are going to be some questions to answer, but the first challenge, after all, is to try and stop these riots and make sure that there isn't another night of them.
OK, Keir, thank you.
Well, it isn't just London, of course. Shops in the centre of Birmingham also closed early this evening. The shutters came down because businesses fear a repeat of last night's riots when several hundred looters smashed into stores in the city. Lewis Vaughan-Jones reports.
This is Handsworth in Birmingham in the early hours of the morning. The main road blocked. At times, it was gangs, not police, in charge here.
We had about 200 young people coming across Soho Road in Handsworth and causing mayhem. The place looks like a war zone.
This car has been set on fire and has just rolled into the building here behind another car on fire, and the police have just arrived to try and lock down the area. Earlier, more than 30 shops were smashed. This, a sweet shop. Around 130 people, many teenagers, have been arrested. 800 people took to the streets. This was the Bullring shopping centre. When police moved on, looters moved in. This was smash, grab and bang. Today, businesses were picking up the pieces. This jeweller's was emptied.
We came out to defend ourselves, protect our livelihood, and there's nothing more I can say at the moment, so I'm really shaken up at the moment.
Police are doubling the number of officers on the streets tonight. Some shops have been shut all day, others closed early. It's boards up, shutters down. Lewis Vaughan-Jones, ITV News, Birmingham.
And the riots weren't confined to Birmingham and London. Hundreds clashed with police in Bristol. Cars and bins were set on fire and a jeweller's looted. A gas main was also set alight.
In Liverpool, businesses were attacked, cars set on fire and police were pelted with missiles.
And the friendly match between England and the Netherlands, which should have taken place tomorrow, has been cancelled because of safety concerns. Well, so far, 563 people have been arrested in connection with the riots. Many more remain at large. Scotland Yard today released CCTV images of youths they suspect of plundering shops for pleasure. But questions about who the rioters are and why they chose to go on the rampage remain. Sajal Kari reports.
The first pictures of those suspected of rioting and looting in London. Young men and women, some of them with their hoods up and masks over their faces. Others uncovered. They're all wanted by police. Detectives are vowing to bring them and anyone else caught in the wave of disorder sweeping the capital to justice. And this young man sitting on the pavement is just one of the victims. In footage apparently taken in Barking yesterday, he's injured, bleeding from his nose and looks disorientated. One of the youths standing over him appears concerned and helps him to his feet and tries to steady him as he walks. But when another man arrives and begins rifling through the victim's rucksack, the Good Samaritan turns bad and joins him in rummaging in the bag, before the man in the baseball cap walks off with something in his hand. The victim realises he's been robbed, but feels powerless to do anything to stop them. And so have the police, trying to contend with rioters storming the streets of London over the last 3 nights, leaving a trail of chaos and mayhem behind them and destroying lives. While everyone condemns their actions, some say it also exposes a broken section of British society.
What we're seeing at the moment is a lost generation of teenagers or young people who feel completely disenfranchised with society. They feel completely cut away from society, that society, things like work, things like moving upward, being socially mobile, access to good homes, strong role models, strong parents, strong families, it's just not there.
Whatever their reasons, the effects of their actions are being felt by all. Sajal Karia, ITV News.